All right, now we're going. All right, good. So we're now learning the Chumash, and we are taking off from where we left off. You remember we learned about the red cow and how the red cow is the cure for impurity of death. And then we learned about the death of Miriam and how the well stopped, and how Moses therefore had to make a new well, struck the rock, and he brought water. And because he struck the rock and he didn't speak to the rock, so he and Aaron got punished. They weren't going to come into the land of Israel. And so it was. God told Aaron, okay, your time has come. Go up to Ohr HaChaim and die there. And he did. Aaron went up and he died on Ohr HaChaim. And immediately the Canaani attacked them. The Canaani, it says, was really Amalek in disguise. And that they prayed to God and God saved them from the Canaani. Remember, we learned about that? And then after that, the Jewish people complained, and God sent these serpents or snakes or whatever, and they bit the Jewish people. Anybody who got bit or bitten died. And God said to Moses, quick, make a snake and put it on a staff. And Moses made a snake made of copper, because in Hebrew, the word for snake is nachash, and the word for copper is nechoshet. So it's like the same. So he made a nachash nechoshet, because the words sort of fit together. He didn't know what type of material to make it from. And it saved them, saved the Jewish people. All right. After that, nachash nechoshet, anyone who got... All right, then now the Jewish people, now we're going to have a strange story with a song. The Jewish people sang a song to God because of this strange victory that God gave them over the, well, you see, we'll see. So what's the strange victory? The Jewish people had to travel in the desert, and the Ammon and Moab, they didn't allow them to go through the land. So the Jews had to take this sort of alternate route. And because of that, they had a plan already. Their enemies had a plan to kill them all. They were waiting up in these high mountains to throw big rocks on them. An amazing miracle happened that it killed all their enemies, and the Jews only found out about it afterwards. So we'll see what happened. We'll see what happens. So let's go. Vayisu b'nei Yisrael. This is the reading for the sixth person that gets called up to the Torah on Shabbat. This is what we're going to read. That we're going to read for him. Vayisu b'nei Yisrael. The Jewish people traveled, and they stopped in a place called Ovot. So he says, where did they go from? They went from the land of Edom, because Edom wouldn't let them go through. Remember, they wouldn't let them go through. And then afterwards, it says, because they even thought about going through Edom and try to make any sort of requests for Edom to be friends and let them through. So because of that, Aaron died early. So they went through Edom. They went around the land of Edom. They went from this place of Edom. And we said that in the end, if you remember, we learned the Ohr HaChaim, that this was just a preparation, that it says in the future, Edom is going to be destroyed from the Mashiach. And that's why it says they camped by Edom. Okay, so it says, place this Edom, and they went to a place called Ovot. Ovot was Ovot. A lot of times they call the same place a lot of different names. This is the place called Salmon and Punon. This is between Hor. This is between the place where Aaron just died and a place called Ovot. All right, we'll talk about this later when we get to chapters Masai, the 42 journeys the Jews took in the desert. Okay, so they went to a place called Ovot. Then they went from Ovot and they went to a place called Iye Ha'avarim. Iye means like the wrecks, the wreckage of Avirim in the desert, which is right facing Moab, from a place called Mizrach Shemesh to the east. Let's see what Rashi says. Avirim, Rashi says, I don't know why this place is called Iyim, but maybe is the language of like a pile of destruction, like ruins. Davar hata'ut b'matateh, a thing which you just sort of sweep away with a broom. In other words, it's not worth anything. And the ayin is part of the word. Okay, that's what he says. Also, even today, there's like a sweeping pan. It's called the ya'eh. That you sweep the thing. Avarim, this is why is it called the Avarim? What is it? If you look in the journeys, there was no place called Avarim. This is a place that was a mavar. It was just like a passageway that people went from this Har Navo, which Har Navo is going to be this place where Moses is going to die, until the land of Canaan. This is a place that separates between Moab and Emori. Okay, so this is the east of the land of Moab. This is all right outside of Israel, right? These are going to be the lands that Moses is going to give later on. He's going to give to Reuven and Gad and Chetzi Shevet Menashe and half of the tribe of Menashe. They're going to want these places of Moab, and it says now they're going to conquer it. We're going to see. From there, they went to a place called Nachal Zored. What's the importance of this? We're going to see in a moment. From there, they went to a place, the Yachanu. They traveled and they camped on the other side of Arnon, which is in the desert that is on the border of the Amori. Because this place called Arnon is in the border of Moab, Bain Moab and Bain the Amorites. So it's between the Moabites and the Amorites, this place. Okay, because it's going to be a narrow passageway. He said it's like a little a little strap of land that goes between Amori. It once belonged to the Amorites, and then Og Melech of Bashan, he came and he conquered it, and etc. Let's see. It says Moab until Arno, which is the Gavul. It says that's where the Jewish people camped to this place, which is called, like Yiftach was going to say later. Now Yiftach, he was one of the judges, and he comes to the king of Moab, and he says, remember back then where Moses, you didn't let Moses go through your land. This is just like Esav did. That Esav, which was Edom, he didn't let me go through his land. So the Moabim also didn't. Just like Esav didn't let me go through, so you're not going to let me go through also? Right. So what's going to happen from this? All this that they don't let them go through is going to be really good for the Jews. You're going to see. Okay, therefore, it says in the book of the wars of God, it says, as Vahev Besufa, Ve'es Nachalim Arnon. What's going on over there? What type of the book of the wars of God? What is this talking about? Vahev. Okay, so it's going to explain. Let's see what Rashi says. Therefore, it says, on this camping and the miracles that were done there, and we're going to see what the miracles were. It says in the book of the wars of God. What does it mean? The wars of God means us. When we tell about the miracles that were done to our forefathers, so we're going to talk about this Vahav. What is Vahav? The word Vahav doesn't really mean that much, but if you change the Vav to a Yud, it means Yahev, means to give. Like Yahev. Like it says, mean Ya'ad Va'ad. Sometimes they can change the letter Yud into a Vav. You have to remember who wrote the Bible, God. So therefore it says V'yav Yad. All right, now this is a grammar lesson. In other words, that which God gave to them, a lot, and increased the miracles, as Vahev, what at that which Yahev, God gave, Besufa, B'yam Suf. The Yam Suf, that's what they call the Red Sea, the Reed Sea. B'yam Suf. And also the Nachalim Arnon, just like we told about the miracles which happened at Yam Suf. Remember in the night of the Seder, we say that God made 5 times as many miracles at the splitting of the sea than he did in Egypt. So in Egypt, the Jews just saw the finger of God, Etzba Elokim. And on Yam Suf, it says the Yad Hashem, was the hand of God. So it was 5 times as many miracles. Some people say that in Egypt they made 10, and on the desert they made 50, and some people say that this, and finally it ends up that there maybe 250 miracles on the Yam. However it was, there were more. So all the miracles that were said, that we talk about, that was done to the Jews at Yam Suf, also we should also talk about these miracles which were done on Nachal Arnon. What miracles were done in Nachal Arnon? You know? Well, you're going to know in a minute. Listen to this. Off here, there were big miracles. And what are these miracles? What are these miracles that were done? So here it's going to be. Ready? Let's see, skip a little bit of this. I don't really want to skip. But okay, here we have an interesting one here. The rabbis say this, Al-Ken Yomar, as Vahev B'soha. This is talking about what the wars of God at Sefer Milchamot Hashem. What is the book of the wars of God? It's the whole Torah. The whole Torah is a big war. Why? Because the Torah is filled with all sorts of arguments. And it was to encourage people to argue over ideas in the Torah and to come to a conclusion. That's how it says that's how things are like whitened and made clear. It's talking about the wars of the Torah. This is the Ohr HaChaim, which this is the war of God. This is the war of God. What does it mean? 2 genuinely God-fearing people, they have different ideas. We have Hillel and Shammai. The whole entire Talmud is filled with these arguments. It's not because they didn't know, nobody knew what they were talking about. Everybody had their inspiration from God what to say, and they argued to figure out which one of them would actually be implemented in law. So that's the whole Torah was made in order that there should be this argument, even though that the ones who argue one with the other in the learning of Torah, because everyone is certain that he's right, and even God made it that each one, in fact, was right. It says, Elu v'elu divrei Elokim chayim. All of the opinions in the Talmud, for instance, are all the word of God. We can't understand that, but that's God. You can't understand God. So it says, but in the end, you come to conclusions. So even when they're yelling at each other and they're arguing over the words of the Torah, and each one is sure that he's right and each one is fighting for the truth. So they hate each other in the law, but afterwards they become friends. That's what it says, vahev b'sofa. The vahev means like ahev. They become friends at the end. After they finish the argument, they become friends. Number 2, another explanation. Based on Hashem, 2 people, it says in the Gemara Brachos that there were 2 people. How did the Jews know about these miracles, which we're going to talk about in a second? So it happened to be that there were 2 lepers. They had mitzora, whatever, that they said bad things about Jews. So they were stricken with this disease. And one of them, his name was Et, and the other one, his name was Vahev. And they went at the end of the camp. They couldn't be with the rest of the Jews. They had to be at the end of the camp. I guess they would leave food for them or something, but they couldn't come into the camp because a leper, a mitzora, not leper. It's a misnomer. A person that has this disease called mitzora, they can't find another name for it, so they call it leprosy. Anyway, people have mitzora, so they have to be outside of the camp. A person has this leprosy, he's like dead. It's like a dead body. You can't touch him. Anything. Even he comes in a room where you're in, it makes it impure. So he says they have to be outside of the camp. I guess they leave them food or whatever. Anyway, so they were outside of the camp and they all of a sudden they saw these big miracles because they were Matzor. And they would tell about this miracle that they saw about the mountains. Okay, let's not wait any longer and let's figure out what exactly was this big miracle. So it says, Eshed HaNachalim, the flow of the river, Shenata L'Shavet Air, that inclined to this place called Ohr, and it went to the Gavul Moab. Now here we go. Let's see what this is. Eshed HaNachalim means the flow. Eshed means shefech, the flow of. So what happened over here? The Jews, they were supposed to go through this narrow passage, right, in order to pass through. And suddenly they saw the narrow passage wasn't there anymore. There were 2 mountains on both sides, and they were supposed to go through this narrow passage to go through, but all of a sudden it closed up. The two sides came together, and there was no narrow passage anymore. So they went over on the top. And then afterwards, the mountains opened up to reveal a very frightening thing. And we're going to see what it is. Let's look. That when the mountains opened up, and the Jews, after the Jews passed over, that there was a river followed them, and there was blood from the Amorites and pieces of body parts that they were hiding there. Lefisha Hayu Haharim, these two mountains on either side of this passageway were very, very high. And a Nachal Amok v'Katzar, and there was a deep, narrow river. And the mountains they were near to each other, so there was a narrow passageway. A person can stand on one mountain and he can speak with somebody that's on the mountain on the other side. You probably have to yell over, whatever. The way to go was betoch hanar, nachal. The way to go over, you had to go like the stream that was going between the two rivers. So they had to walk on the stream or on the sides of the stream. The Amorites said, when the Jewish people come into this river in order to go between these two mountains, we're going to come out. We're going to hide up in the mountains. There's caves up there in the mountains. We'll come out from the caves in the mountains, which are above them, and we'll kill them. We'll shoot arrows and what was it called? And big rocks down on them, and the Jews won't have it. They will have no way of protecting themselves. Right? So we got them. They're trapped. This is it. We're going to do what nobody else could do. The holes were on the side of Moab, and the other side, because there was the river that separated between Moab and Ammon, right? So there was this river that separated them. On one side was a mountain that belonged to Moab. On the other side was the mountain that belonged to the Amorites. And there was this very narrow passage that ran between them, that's where the river also ran. So the Jewish people would have to go walking through or on the sides of this river. But it happened to be that the Amorites, they hid in the caves that are on one side, and they were going to throw them. But it happened to be that exactly corresponding to these caves were like stalactites sticking out horizontally. It says like shadayim, like sort of like breasts that stuck out, and they exactly fit into these holes that were on the other side. As soon as the Jews wanted to go across between them, suddenly there was a earthquake, and the mountains came. The mountains came like a maidservant that she's happy to see her master coming from far away, right? Like her, whatever it is, the woman, the house owner coming, and the two mountains came together. Nitkarav l'tzad hara Moab. The side of the Amorites came to the side of Moab, and those protrusions exactly fit into the caves, and it killed everybody in the caves. And that's what it means, the Shevet Ohr, that the mountain moved from its place, the Shevet, or it moved from its place to the other side, and it stuck there. And that's what it means, Nish'an b'gavul Moab. That's what it means, that Nish'an, that it like leaned onto the side of Moab, so the two mountains came together. Okay, who were in these caves? The Amorites, that they wanted to throw these things on the Jews. Instead, it ended up that these came together and it crushed them there. So it says, Mishum be'era hi be'er. This is, from there came this well. This is the well that God said to Moshe, gather the Jews and I will give them water. So this is the well that, one second, when did this well was way before that, wasn't it? When the Jewish people, they complained about the water that was that was before this. They had the water was there a long time, right? The water they had from the beginning when they left Egypt. So what was this? This is where the flow of water came from, the Be'er. How so? God said, who's going to let the Jewish people know what this miracle was? I mean, the Jews, when the mountains came together, the Jewish people, they walked where the mountains came together. They couldn't go through the path. So they walked over. They didn't know anything about people hiding there or anything. And they got over to the other side and they figured it was okay. It says, who's going to let the Jewish people know about this big miracle that I did? So it's like it says, a mashal, Omer natata pat latino kodia leimo. It says if you give bread to a child, you should spread a little bit of food on the side of his mouth, so at least he knows that somebody. His mother says, "Why is your mouth dirty?" So, oh, Mr. Groys gave me some food. So the same thing over here. Who's going to let the Jews know that there was this big miracle and they got saved? So after the Jewish people went over these two mountains, so suddenly, miraculously, the two mountains went back again, and there was this space between them. And this well of Miriam that was with them came down into the river, which was running there anyway, and it filled the river. It made the water overflow. And what did they see in the water? Blood of the killed people, of the Amorites, and not only blood, but also body parts, their arms and their other limbs, a couple of, who knows, lungs, and it brought them around the camp. And the Jewish people saw this, and they sang a big song. Az Yisrael Yisrael. Then the Jewish people sang this song, and they said, Ali Be'er, raise up well, Enu La, answer it. Okay, yeah. Rashi. Ali Be'er Mitocha, make the well of Miriam, made the water raise up from this river that was running there anyway, that was filled with all these limbs and things like that, and it raised up what was inside of it. Umenayin she'abir, how do you know that this well let them know? Shene'amar, like it says, Umesham be'era. V'chi misham ha'yasav. It says from there was the well, right? It says misham be'era. Here it says, what is it? Misham be'era. From there was the well of Miriam. That's when the well of Miriam started. V'chi misham ha'yata. Halo mitchil tarboim. In the beginning of the 40 years, this well was with them. But what? She yardo la person, but the well went down into this river to make the river overflow its banks and advertise the miracle. The Cain also az Yashir Yisrael. Also it says here, saying the Jewish people. Hashira Zot Ne'amar, it says at the end of the 40 years. Az means then, only after 40 years. This well gave them, the well that was given to them at the beginning of 40 years, right? This, all of a sudden they're singing to the well now. Maro lichtov, why do all of a sudden they're praising the well now? Ella enyanu kanidras, like it says before. In other words, they're singing about what they saw from before. Shalom bracha. Can you call me in another 15 minutes? I'm just giving a class. Okay? Can you call me in another 15 minutes? Hello, can you call me in 15 minutes? I'm just giving a class, okay? Can you call me in 15 minutes? 15 minutes, call me, all right? 15 minutes. Do you hear me? Yes, please call me in 15 minutes. One second, I have to turn this thing off. Okay. Here we go. So it says, "Az Yasher Yisrael Tashir Azos." The Jewish people sang this song. Ali Bir Anulo Rashi. Ali Be'er, raise up well. Mitocha Nachal, raise up in this river, the rock of Miriam that went down. That water was coming, so it went inside of this river in order to raise up what it raised up. We just finished this. We just did this. Let's look at, yes. Here, let's look at the Ohr HaChaim. Okay. I'm sorry for this delay over here. Yud Zayin, there we go. Az Yeshua Moshe says that the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh. We have to understand this song. What is the good of this song? Also, why did they sing this song? Why didn't they sing a song when the manna fell? Huh? That really saved them. Just like the song on the water. All of a sudden, they're praising the water, the well of Miriam. Why don't they praise the manna that fell down? Right? Only the water they praise. Also, this whole entire thing we have to explain what's really going on over here. Maybe we can say like this: this song that they're singing is not because of the well. Says the Ohr HaChaim, this is they're praising the Torah. Therefore, you can't say anything bad about this generation, the previous generation. Why didn't they sing a new song when God gave them the Torah? Which this is a inheritance, which is a very beautiful thing and praiseworthy, because certainly this was the song about the Torah. The Torah itself is called a well of living water. So they sang a song when they went across the Yam Suf, and this is the song that they're singing now, not because of the bear. This is the Ohr HaChaim says, not just because of the water that came, because if it was because of the water, then why didn't they praise the manna? But their praise is because of the Torah. The Torah is called the well of living water. The Torah is called a well because it is the source of the Shekhinah, of God's presence. And God's presence is also called, the emanation of God's presence in the world is also called the well. Also because that the Torah is compared to water. And that's why it says Ali Be'er. That's what it means to go up. Because not just on the Torah as it is below are they praising, but also on the Be'er Ali. What does it mean? The upper well, the source of the Torah, how it is in its source. And that's what it says, Anula, like it says, V'ta'an la'em Miriam, Shehu derech hashir. That's what it means, Anula, that you, in other words, my mouth just speaks the words of the Torah. The Torah answers us. It says God's words come out from us. Here's the Balaturim. Ali Be'er, go up, wellspring, and answer it. When the Jews came back from this war, Chanu ala Be'er, right? They rested on this bear. Remember that after Aaron died, so they had to fight the Amalekites. And they prayed to God that they would win. They won. So afterwards, the Jews came to not because of this miracle that Rashi talked about the Ammonites and that the walls came together. This is after the battle that they fought before these people of Ammon got killed. Name of the war against Amalek. And they sang a song by the river. Why by the river? Because they purified themselves. About the Anu means, okay. Anu Lashem B'Torah, they gave thanks to God because of this Ba'er, because they could purify themselves after they won this battle. Right. Then we have the Kli Ykar. Let's see if we can go to Kli Ykar. Here it says an interesting thing. What does it say? Az Yeshi Yisrael. That's the Shira says. If you remember, when they went across the Yam Suf, they said, Az Yeshi Moshe ben Yisrael. It says Moshe and then the Jewish people, they sang. Here it doesn't say the Moshe and the Jewish people, it just says that the Jewish people sang the song. So it says, since it doesn't say that they sang, that Moshe and the Jewish people sang, why not? And also, Shalosh Sharu Ashira Azot B'Techila. Why didn't they sing the song in the beginning of the 40 years with the well? That's when the well started. That's when they should have started praising. So we learn this, that what was this song about? So we heard already two opinions. One says the song, three opinions. One was they were singing the song because of this big miracle that's what Rashi said, that the well of Miriam flooded the waters of this river that ran through between these two mountains that had come together and crushed all their enemies and then separated. And this well of Miriam brought up these body parts and all this blood. That's what they sang for. Another opinion is, what were they singing for? They were singing because they purified themselves. They purified themselves after they won the battle with Amalek, so they're giving thanks to God. Another opinion is what they were singing about was they're singing about Moses. No. Another, the Ohr HaChaim said, what were they singing about the well? They were praising the Torah. The Torah is called the well. That's what they were singing about. They were finally praising the Torah, that they got into the land of Israel and they had the Torah with them. Kli Ykar says, what were they praising? Here, look, it says, Az Yashir Yisrael, the Jewish people sang the song. Why does it say that Moses also sang? So it says, because the Jewish people, they were singing the song about Moses. Shechazru al-Be'er, because remember we learned that when Miriam died, that the well went away, the water, and that Moses brought it back. So now they're praising Moshe that he brought this well back. That's like we learned in the Sikh of the Rebbe today. After that, it stopped on the death of Miriam. And for this is the reason why it's not mentioned Miriam also in the song. Right? V'nizkar Moshe, like it says, Be'er Chafru Asarim. It says the well here, the well that the leaders dug. Who are these leaders? The leaders, Rashi says the leaders are Moshe and Aaron. Moshe and Aaron. So they're praising really Moshe and Aaron, especially the merit. It said in the merit of Moshe, it came back. It says that Aaron, he died and the clouds of glory went away, and Moshe brought those back also. But here it talks of praise of the river that Moshe brought back after Miriam died. So they were praising him. That's what it says. That he dug it out. So that Moses was the one. Also, mechokek means a lawgiver. Also, chokek law. That's only Moshe. Like it says, sham chelkat mechokek safun. It says right in the end of the Torah. It says there's the burial place of the mechokek is hidden. Mechokek is Moses. So it came back in the merit of Moshe. Why? Because Moshe, he received the Torah, and the Torah has the power of everything. That's what the Rebbe said in the Sikha, right? Like it says, that's the whole idea of the Torah. The Torah is what brought back the well. So there's another opinion. What were they singing this song about? One opinion says they were singing, Rashi says they were singing because of this amazing miracle that the mountains came together. Other opinion says, no, they were singing because they won this battle against the Canaanites. Another opinion says, no, what they were singing about was they were singing about the about the well that came back. The idea that about the Torah. I'm sorry, about the Torah. They were singing about the Torah. The Torah is called the well of living water. That was what the Ohr HaChaim said. And now we see the Kli Ykar says, no, they were singing about Moses. They were praising Moses. Moses was the one who brought the well back. So this really sort of makes a really lot of sense what he's saying. Okay, let's just do one more. I don't know if we have time, but let's say this is the well that the Sarim, that the leaders and that the generous ones of the people dug out with their staffs. And from this place called Midbar, they went to a place called Matana. This is Matana, Midbar, not Midbar from the desert. It was given to them. What? Matana is the Torah. That's what the Torah was given. Maybe we can just try. Let's try the Ramban, all right? The reason it says Midbar Matana, like Unkla says, it's just a short language, and it says that all these songs were said because from the desert, which is a land which is a wasteland, Amid Simon, Hamatana is this, there came this gift. Namely, from this gift, the Nachalim, from the Nachalim to Bamot, to Piska and Ishkafa al. What does it mean? This is all talking about in a desert where there's absolutely nothing. There's no rivers over there. There's no other water. And suddenly, all of a sudden, there's a water and there's the beer of Miriam. And there's amazing things that happen to the Jewish people. So it all came from Moses and from Hashem. And the Jewish people didn't even request this in the beginning. And Hashem said that I will gather up these people and I will give them water and etc. So that's what they were praising that Moshe gave to them. There's another explanation here. Let's see if we can have. This be'er is not like this well is not like other wells that you dig it by people. No, this Moshe Rabbeinu just struck it with his staff and he brought up. Like it says, V'yichru avdei Yitzchak, like you dug a well. But no, this is a well that was not dug, but Moses just hit with his stick, the stick of God, the staff of God. And this shows that God was not angry that Moses hit the staff, hit the rock. Because why would they be singing that Moses brought water from this rock? I mean, God punished Moses because of it. How can they sing a song? So this shows exactly the opposite, that God was not angry that Moses brought water from this rock by hitting it, because if so, they wouldn't sing. Some people say that who's the mechokek? That this mechokek, it says, mechokek b'mishnato mechokek, that this mechokek, this is Moshe, like it says, chelkat mechokek safun. We just finished learning that in the Ramban. That was so. If so, the Jewish people were singing either in general, or they were singing praising Moses, or they were singing praising the Torah, or they were singing praising the wars that they won, or they were singing in praise of everything that happened. They were praising God because of this. And tomorrow, God willing, we'll learn about the war that they made with Sichon, the king of the Amorites. And they're going to conquer his land as well. And we'll try, God willing, also to learn the Haftorah, of this week's Torah portion that we've succeeded in the other weeks. We succeeded in learning the Haftorah. Very interesting Haftorah in this week's Torah portion. A very interesting long Haftorah from the book of Judges, Yiftach. Remember, that's the story about Yiftach that we mentioned over here, that Yiftach said, let me go through your land, and etc. We'll learn about this, God willing, tomorrow. Have a good day with Mashiach now. Thank you very much.